It's my birthday. Well, my YouTube birthday. And to celebrate 1 year of this channel existing, I ask you, the community, what old janky concept from this channel's history would you like to see sort of make a comeback and have a BT8 revitalization? And the people have spoken. And it's Tyranno time. Let's talk about it. What's up, Tamers? Welcome back to the Other Decks. My name's Casual Adobo, and today we have officially been on YouTube for 1 whole year. And honestly, it's been a fantastic year. I've got to interact with a lot of different players, different people who watch this video, and just to rattle off some stats a little bit, within the year, we did get 713 subscribers as of the recording of this video, and about like a little over 2,700 hours watched, which is absolutely wild. I've said it a couple times before, but you know, I sort of do this part-time as a hobby. I would love to do this full-time, but you know, life circumstances, and I wanted to make content for a game I loved. Was holding off on it for many months, and then you know, just decided to kind of like jump in, do it. The first video was that Digisorption reboot video, and honestly, I've really enjoyed the time since, and to hit some of the milestones that we have done over the course of the year, and that's even including like a 2 to 3 month break when life kind of just like got a little bit too hectic, so I had to step away from the YouTube stuff a little bit. But yeah, I think for all of the things that we've done as a community and all of the milestones that we've hit within just a year's time, I never would have dreamt of it. Certainly, this isn't my first attempt at a YouTube channel, but this certainly has been one of the most successful ones, and I have nothing but thanks for everyone who partakes in the videos, whether it's watching it, commenting, you know, doing all the YouTube stuff. I'm not going to rattle it off, but I really do appreciate it. And we have a lot more things in store for the next year, right? Obviously more Digimon content from deck profiles, hopefully doing more gameplay videos, but also we're venturing into One Piece a little bit. That's a game that, or like a series that I've really enjoyed, and now that it's coming out with TCG through the same people as Digimon, Bandai, I'm super excited about it, and I think there's a lot of awesome videos that will come out from that, a lot more collabs with hopefully other YouTubers. So I imagine that this year is going to be probably equally, or if not more, busy than the last one. So once again, thank you for sticking around, really appreciate it, and hopefully our next mile marker is going to be 1,000 subs at some point within the year. But I understand you're not really here for the 1 year anniversary. You want to know about this Christmas RustTyrannomon deck. And I will say, RustTyrannomon still features many of the same problems that it's had in previous iterations. It is a bit slow. RustTyrannomon himself is a bit underwhelming when it comes to its DP. And honestly, not a whole lot has changed with RustTyrannomon since BT8's release. Especially with joggers from like Imperial Dramon, things just tend to move fast, and I did playtest sort of a traditional RustTyrannomon / Tyrannomon Crush sort of style deck, but it doesn't have the same protections as Armor Release or Armor Rush, so it just felt a little worse, and most of the Tyrannomons are low DP, relatively speaking. This is sort of an experiment, but I really do believe that you need some sort of way to cheat out level 5s in BT8. And so this Tyrannomon deck actually has a Kimeramon. So yes, we would love to obviously get into our RustTyrannomon and do all of our crazy RustTyrannomon plays. However, we do need some sort of cheat step along the way, and I think that Kimeramon is perfect for what this meta presents. It can joggers off of 2 champions, which in my opinion, the traditional Tyrannomon decks tend to have a lot of champions anyway. So Kimeramon's perfect for that, and it does have some DP reduction, which can potentially take care of some of the peskier things. It definitely helps you out with some armor rush, taking care of some problematic champions before they get problematic, such as an Imperial Digimon. So I think I'm pretty happy with the deck list I'm going to present to you, but as we go through it, obviously let me know what you think down in the comments below. Let me know what pieces you would add or subtract, or if, what ways you would make this deck just in general better. And if you're enjoying the video, please give it a like and consider subscribing for more Digimon and eventually One Piece content. But without further ado, let's just go ahead and jump right into the deck profile. Alright, and here we are at the deck profile, and like with all deck profiles, we're going to start off with our Digitama, our level 2s, and we have 4 copies of Kimeramon. So Kimeramon is good because its inheritables when attacking. If you attack one of your opponent's Digimon, this Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for the turn. And if you've seen any of the RustTyrannomon decks I've done before, we do like to attack into some Digimon. So that's why we're running out of 4 copies. But as a 5th Digitama, we do have 1 copy of Kimeramon. When attacking, once per turn, if you attack an opponent's Digimon, trigger draw 1. Besides traditional Digivolution, there's not a whole lot of card draw in green. So having 1 copy of Kimeramon just helps that a little bit. Honestly, I was thinking about reversing the ratios of having like 4 Kimeramon versus 1 Kimeramon, but I imagine that like in the early stages of the game, you're really not doing a whole lot of attacking, and so that card draw is kind of, I wouldn't say useless, that's a very harsh word. It's not as great as it could be in the early game. So that's why I left this as 4 Mino, 1 Kimeramon. Next up, moving into our rookies, we do have 4 copies of Agumon. This is just an awesome rookie. Digimon gets plus 1000 DP for the turn. Next up, 2 copies of Tyrannomon, pretty much a staple in most green decks nowadays. All turns, your opponent can't gain memory except from tamer effects. So if you've played some BT8 already, you know that Imperial Digimon effects, I believe it's one of the Vmons that when it unsuspends during the main phase, you gain a memory. With Tyrannomon, that won't happen. But if you've been playing a constructed Digimon for any length of time, you probably know what Tyrannomon does. Next up, we have 4 copies of Ikakimon, the pencil Digimon. This is a 2 cost to play, 0 to Digivolve, 3000 DP rookie. This is just a sort of cheap, effective way to get a body onto the board. But this came in BT8 and pretty solid rookie. And then rounding out our rookies, we do have 4 copies of the starter deck Palmon. This says that when attacking, if you attack an opponent's Digimon, this Digimon gets plus 2000 DP for the turn. So once again, we're kind of aiming to counter some Black War Greymon strats with this. So if we go into RustTyrannomon, we need to be able to swing over, I believe Black War Greymon is 12,000. So even just this Palmon alone would get us there. But we do have other ways to increase our DP throughout this deck. Moving on to champions, we have 2 copies of BT2 Tyrannomon. This has a when Digivolving ability that says reveal top 3 and then add 1 level 5 Digimon card. And note that there is no color restriction on that, so it can be any level 5, including our Kimeramon. And then also get 1 green tamer from among them and then add it to our hand. Place the remaining at the bottom of our deck. So this Tyrannomon is very good for how many sort of different colors we have at the ultimate spot. Admittingly, it's just 2, but overall, this is very good. Next up, got 2 copies of Arbamon from BT6. This is a hybrid Digimon, so it can Digivolve off our green tamers for 2. And we kind of treat this how we treated Lobomon and Agunimon back into like BT4 meta, where it's just here for a final swing. In worst case scenario, we can Digivolve it off of a green for 2. Next up, have 2 copies of Lydramon. I'm still getting used to calling it Lydramon. But yes, so this is a new 2-color Digimon from BT8. Can Digivolve off of a green Digimon for 3. If you have a Vmon, but we don't have a Vmon, as you saw, it can Digivolve for 2. The key things here though is Armor Purge. If this would be deleted, you can essentially trash a top card of the Digimon, which is usually this Lydramon, to prevent the deletion. And then when Digivolving, suspend one of our opponent's level 4 or lower Digimon. So I don't necessarily know how other people have been building RustTyrannomon in sort of these newer metas, but here I don't have as many suspending options. just because I wanted to sort of load it with Digimon a little bit. So its one Digivolving ability is pretty good for us, so that we can, attack some lower level stuff. Next up, I have 2 copies of BT1 Red Tyrannomon. And you're probably wondering, like, why do I have a red champion if I have no red rookies? It's 4 cost to play, which honestly is not that bad, but it has jamming and it has 4000 DP. So if you combine it with some of our other things, say, the MasterTyrannomon, which we obviously include in this deck, 2 security checks with jamming, that ain't bad. Next up, we do have 4 copies of the EX1 Tyrannomon. So when Digivolving, if we don't have a Taiga in play, you can put one from our hand onto the field without paying the memory cost. So this is really good as sort of a free tamer ability. And then on our turn, this Digimon is also treated as green, which is pretty dope. And then arguably more importantly, on our turn, while this Digimon has Tyrannomon in his name, it does get plus 2000 DP. Alright, moving on to our ultimates, we have 3 copies of MasterTyrannomon. On your turn, all of your Digimon with Tyrannomon in their name gain security attack plus 1, and then it also has an inheritable of security attack plus 1. So this is pretty solid. The only reason I don't play it at 4 is because I personally feel the 4 to Digivolve is a pretty steep cost, to be honest. And especially when things need to be cheated out, like I said, I feel very strongly that level 4s or level 5s need to be cheated out in some way. 4 to Digivolve for level 5 is just really rough. But it is a very good Digimon, a very good aura card essentially, that kind of gives some bonuses to all of our Tyrannomons. And in general, a generic security attack plus 1 is pretty solid. Now that actually comes into play with our next Digimon, which is our 4 copies of Kimeramon. Also bear with me because there is a lot of text here, so we'll try and get through it. So this is a white Digimon that can Digivolve off of any level 4 for 4, but most likely you're going to want to Joggers into it. So this Joggers is unique because you can choose any colors, any 2 level 4s, put them together, and then Joggers with it for 0. Now, when Digivolving, we can place 1 level 5 or lower Digimon card from our trash under this Digimon as its Digivolution card. Then, up to 4 of our opponent's Digimon get minus 1000 DP for each of this Digimon's colors until the end of our opponent's next turn. And then on our turn, this Digimon is also treated as having the colors of its Digivolution cards, and then while this Digimon has 4 or more colors, it gets plus 4000 DP. And now the way I've built this, there are actually ways to get that plus 4000, because we'll have, obviously, for the most part, green. Our Tyrannomons and our MasterTyrannomons can also count as red. The Digimon itself is white, so that's already 3. And luckily, because of our Lydramons, we do have some blue representation in there. And then that whole thing about how MasterTyrannomon comes into play, if you use Lydramon already as one of the 2 sources, you can target a MasterTyrannomon from the trash and then put it underneath. And that way you get the full range of the 4 colors, but also that security attack plus 1 as an inheritable. So I think Kimeramon in general is very good, but in this deck works kind of a few different angles for us. Moving on to our champions, we have the boy itself, RustTyrannomon. So 11,000 DP for the Digivolve. On your turn, if you have a green tamer in play, this Digimon can attack our opponent's unsuspended Digimon. And then on our turn, when this Digimon deletes one of our opponent's Digimon in battle and survives, suspend one of our opponent's Digimon. So unlike the EX1 version that I showed off back in December, this one we're not really using Dimension Scissor as much as it pains me. But the ability to attack an unsuspended Digimon is super powerful. And if we Digivolve this on top of a Kimeramon that has a bunch of those inheritables underneath of it, all that DP gain, security attack plus 1, etc., this can be a very, very huge Digimon. And honestly, it can probably clear a lot of level 6s that are prominent in the BT8 meta. That all said, I do have to give this word of warning. You are creating a single stack of RustTyrannomon. So hard removal is still your number 1 enemy. Just be careful with it. The robot is fragile. And then moving on to our secondary mega for the deck, we do have 2 copies of Nidhoggmon. So when digivolving, Digiburst 4, so that's trashing 4 sources off of it, and then suspend all of your opponent's Digimon with 5000 DP or less, then place all of them at the bottom of the owner's deck in any order. Then trash all Digivolution sources of those cards. I haven't done it yet, but I really want to put this on top of a Kimeramon because, you know, Kimeramon does put a bunch of sources into his stack, and so you can sort of pick and choose which 4 you want to remove and then leave the most beneficial ones. So that way you do have a Nidhogg that has some inheritables on it while also potentially clearing a board. And this is great against like someone who's going really hard into Armor Rush, because for the most part those Digimon are 5000 DP, the only exception being Magnamon, who is naturally 7k, and then can obviously get bigger if it was Digivolved that turn. But I think Nidhogg is going to play a pretty vital role in the BT8 meta for green players if people choose to play green. Honestly, I wanted to try and fit in a third Nidhogg, but I wasn't really sure how that would play out in terms of brickiness, essentially, especially since we don't have any mulligans in BT8 anymore. So 2 copies it is. Then moving on to our options, we do have 1 copy of Hidden Potential discovered. So next time one of your green Digimon digivolves, suspend one of your own Digimon to reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 5. Obviously this is a very good card. It's still limited to 1, so 1 copy we include. Next up, have 2 copies of A Delicate Plan. So one of our Digimon gains, this Digimon doesn't activate the security effects of any option card it checks for the turn. So this could be really good with our jamming Tyrannomon, especially in combination with MasterTyrannomon. Put Delicate Plan on top of Tyrannomon, and then it can swing in for 2 checks with jamming and doesn't activate any options. Now, A Delicate Plan does specify option cards, so it will still trigger things like Tamers, as well as, unfortunately, Zord Defeat. If you encounter a Zord Defeat with this deck, you're honestly probably not going to have a good time, to be honest. But A Delicate Plan is for every other scenario. It's actually saved me quite a few times against security control, where I hit into like a Chaos Degradation or a Flame Hell Scythe, so this does have some application in BT8. And then moving on to our tamers, we have 3 copies of Mimi. This is a memory tamer, and then if you have a level 5 or higher Digimon in play, a green Digimon, you can suspend this tamer to either hatch a Digi-Egg into an empty space in the breeding area, or move one of your level 3 Digimon from the raising area to the battle area. So once again, Mimi is a staple if you've played any amount of green over the last couple sets, you know Mimi. Next up, we do have 3 copies of Taiga. On your turn, all of your Digimon with Tyrannomon in their names gain Piercing. So that would apply to our MasterTyrannomon, Tyrannomons at the champion level, as well as our RustTyrannomon. Then, also on our turn, when digivolving one of our Digimon into a Digimon card with Tyrannomon from our hand, you can suspend this tamer to reduce the memory cost of the Digivolution by 1. So you know how I was saying that MasterTyrannomon and even to an extent RustTyrannomon were kind of expensive to digivolve at 4? Having 1 Taiga in play does help manage that just a little bit. And then rounding out our tamers, we do have 2 copies of Starter Deck Tai. This is a 2 cost to play. On our turn, all of our Digimon get plus 1000 DP. So I included a Starter Deck Tai for a couple reasons. 1, it's a pretty cheap tamer. 2, it does help boost our RustTyrannomon on our turn. And 3, if we get it out early enough, it is pretty stable representation so that we can activate our Delicate Plan. If I'm splashing red into any sort of other color, Starter Deck Tai is probably the tamer I'm including in that deck list. But yeah, that is the deck list for BT8 Red-Green RustTyranno. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. It definitely is an interesting deck. I think it can definitely be a fun deck. Will it break the meta? Will it shatter and get tops? Probably not. But if you're looking to have a good time with a bunch of dinosaurs, Red-Green RustTyrannomon is the deck profile for you. And like I said, if you enjoyed the comment, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel. We are going to be doing a couple more things. Now that we've kind of done all of the traditional BT8 deck lists, there's some spicier things I have cooking up right now. Definitely going to do some more gameplay which does take a little bit more time to edit, but hopefully it is worth it for you. And then yeah, we're going to do some One Piece videos. I have a couple different things lined up in the editing bay, and honestly, it's a pretty fun game, not gonna lie. So I'm excited to show you all what I've been cooking up there. But once again, thank you so much for watching. Really appreciate it. And Tamers, remember, build what you like, play what you love, and I'll catch you in the next video. Have a good one.